And author of the forthcoming book, The Eclipse of Equality, Arguing America on Meet the Press. He is in Washington. So which inauguration ball were you going to?
Well, my family went to the kids' opening and saw that concert, but I think I'm going to be watching this from afar this time and taking it all in that way.
Okay, so I guess this time it's welcome to the job, big guy, don't hit your head on the debt ceiling.
I suppose you're right. The debt ceiling is at least seems to be settled for a while. They put it off for a few months. So, this was a really terrible situation for the Republicans because they were now being characterized as hostages. And now we have a real-life, terrible tragedy of hostages in Algeria. Now that narrative became ever worse. Who knows what they're going to do about the budget? How are they going to deal with taxation? How are they going to deal with spending cuts? There's no sense that there's any room for compromise here, or any meeting of the minds. From what I can tell watching this, it doesn't appear that anyone is all that interested in finding common ground either. Is the president looking to, the way I like to characterize his attempt at his 8 years total, and have done for a while, is to think about this in terms of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. The first thing was just to get to stop the bleeding, and then it was to reinvest in America. Mm-hmm. But how do you reinvest in America without money? And how do you cut those things which are not productive, if you will, and invest in those things which are? And it's very difficult to see how he moves forward with the current Congress, which might mean 2 more years of stalemate and trench warfare.
I know at the beginning of his last mandate, there were people who were saying, who would want that job? There are just too many problems. This time around, are the problems as severe?
Not at all. I mean, the economy is roughly stable now. It seems to be growing. We're not headed into a recession from what we can see. As long as the two parties don't self-destruct and send us into some kind of a crisis, which seems to be forestalled for now. I mean, the big issues are ones that we might not have expected. I mean, immigration was on the view screen, but now since the president won with this inclusive narrative so prominent, the Republicans seem to be getting behind that as well. The gun control issue, or the gun violence issue, has suddenly sprung on the scene. Obama didn't campaign on that. It wasn't something he focused on, but he seems to have been so moved by this tragedy that he's now behind that with full force. And it's a sort of a difficult issue to get behind. It's very difficult to get, how should I say, it's difficult to get any political agreement. And then what you can get doesn't seem like it'll do much about the specific problems. So there's a certain symbolic aspect to it, which is frustrating as well.
Does that suggest that the country is going from this economic war that it's been having to this cultural war that'll reemerge?
I think that in a way we're going to see some cultural issues come forward, and those might be the things that the president feels he can work on in the next 2 years. I think he's hoping that he can replace the current Congress with the Democratic House and keep his Senate majority, and then maybe move forward with some legislation that would actually address some of the deeper economic challenges. I think that economic inequality is still an issue that's at the forefront. It's not something that either party seems to be addressing in any sort of an effective way. And there's a debate about this, but a stable, prosperous middle class is the best way to grow the economy over the long run. And that's what we don't. The middle class is the aspect which is suffering most in the economy. So not much is going to be done there, I'm afraid, for quite a while.
On the subject of equality, a president is almost no one without a cabinet. Where are the women in his cabinet?
Well, right. The president will say, and his advisors have said, that he's been better on this issue than anyone has been in a long time. And there's an interesting aspect about picking a cabinet. You have to get them confirmed. And not to say that Republicans are anti-woman in their appointments, but the people that he's chosen both because he knows they'll be good, that is at the highest levels, but also because he knows he can get them confirmed. So there's blame to go around to both sides in this aspect, and I think the president feels quite confident in his gender policies.
Solon Simmons, professor at George Mason University and author of the forthcoming book, The Eclipse of Equality, Arguing America on Meet the Press. Thank you very much for joining us.